Oh my God. You know what? That is tragic. Mercury retrograde strikes again. I'm telling you guys, it's been one thing after another with Mercury retrograde. So thank you for saying that. I hope you guys can hear me now. Let me know if the sound has been restored. I'm the Spiritual Genie. Welcome to my channel. I have a special presentation for you guys tonight. I can't believe there was no sound. I might want to end this broadcast and just come right back on. No, I would have to set it back up again. Darn it. We'll just keep rolling. Okay. Screw it. So you got to just roll with it. Okay. So it's almost giving me that this is an inclination into some energy around the case, right? So we're just going to take a look at the status hearing today really quick. We're going to do that. We're going to take a look at the status hearing. Bryan Kohberger did end up, Bryan Kohberger, the suspect in the murders of the 4 University of Idaho college students, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves, right? So this is the suspect that's being held. His name is Bryan Kohberger. If anybody doesn't know, where have you been? Inside of a cave? I don't know. Welcome to my channel, though. If you like my vibe, please do. If you would like to subscribe and become part of the tribe, I would love to have you. Mercury is so retro. Yes, it is. And it does just seem to throw a little cosmic monkey wrench into things, as I say. I have little sayings for Mercury retrograde, and they go like this. One of them is, what in the Mercury retrograde? And that one's reserved for when like the weird stuff just off the wall kind of Uranus energy comes in and happens, right? Uranus can actually be very destructive indeed. So I don't know, it gives me Uranus vibes sometimes. Like, what in the Mercury retrograde? And also words schmerds. Who needs them? All right. So anyway, no laughing matter. We're going to take a look right here at this video by Brian ENTIN. This is just going to give us an idea of what the heck is a status hearing anyway, and what are they doing? Who did put Mercury in the microwave? That is just, let's take Mercury out of the microwave, or Freddie Mercury or whatever. Okay. All right. Let me press play on this. Let's get going. Wait, that one has no sound. And let's cut the birds. Wow, see, I'm telling you. I'll put it back. Hold on. And I'm going to I'll enlarge it. Don't worry.
Wanted to give you an update on the court hearing that will be happening.
Wrong one. Where on earth are we?
Possibility that the defense
bear with me now. We'll get it going.
So that could happen, but
we'll
if
get
the
going.
defense doesn't
Things
do
will
that,
get going smooth.
both
I'll put
sides
it back
are going to come up with
one more time.
Date and time. Bryan ENTIN in Moscow, Idaho, wanted to give you an update on the court hearing that will be happening on Thursday. It's going to be at 8 in the morning, and we are told that it's expected to be relatively short, and they are mainly going to talk about scheduling. They're going to be talking about scheduling a preliminary hearing. Now, first of all, there's a possibility that the defense could win. All
right. I had to. Now there's a reason for what I'm doing. Okay, so they're showing right now. This was the last court day for Bryan Kohberger, where they did the unsealing of the affidavit. A really weird and awkward moment, which is a little bit of a segue into where we're going with this. We are going to be taking a deeper look tonight at. We're going to take a deeper look into sociopathy, and we're going to kind of take a look here. If you know. We're just analyzing. This is all speculative, right? This case is, it's closed, not closed. It's a sealed case. Like at this point, there's the gag order. Like no one is going to be really saying much. There definitely have been some leaks though. You know, I have been following the lawyer, and he has been saying, for sure there have been leaks that have been coming out. And we're actually going to get to one of those leaks tonight, which is going to be the public defender that was representing Bryan in Pennsylvania. But look at those eyes, right? There was an awkward moment when he walked in, and I almost want to replay it for you guys because he looks like he's forcing back a smile even when he walks in the room, like this look that he really wants to burst out laughing, and it's like he's really trying to repress it. So I just have noticed that. And whenever you see this guy's eyes, he just has that, like people have described, that deadpan stare, right? That stare where when you look into his eyes, the only words that people can use to describe eyes of those that, you know, have the personality disorder things, have eyes like that. So I'm just saying, but this awkward moment when he walks into the courtroom and like looks like he's trying to repress a smile, and then he has this smile with his then he has this smile with his defense attorney Ann Taylor right here. That's just in my opinion creepy.
Waive the preliminary hearing, so that could happen. But if the defense doesn't do that, both sides are going to come up with a date and time that works for them, where they will set the preliminary hearing. And it's at the preliminary hearing that could be really something, because we expect to hear more evidence if that hearing happens, and they could also call witnesses. So we could possibly hear from the surviving roommate who was in the house behind me, who told police that she actually saw the killer. That person could be called to the stand up at a preliminary hearing. Cameras will be allowed inside the courtroom. So we will have video. We'll be able to show you video of what happened inside, but they're not allowing a live stream. So we won't be able to put that video out until after the hearing happens.
Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? When you see the dude's face, no empathy. Like, just, and not at any point has there been even remotely any empathy. Like, we're going to look at a bunch of stuff tonight. And we're going to do some like personal, we're just going to kind of play and do some analysis behavior, but we're also going to really actually look at some real psychology. And we're going to look at the eyes of sociopaths and psychopaths. And we're going to see if, like, is there something there? Is there a comparison? Excuse me. Oops, excuse me. Sorry, you guys know that I tell you I gotta have my medicine. Okay, let's get back to the video. Oh, what? Oh, I just can't with mercury in the microwave today.
Also new here in Moscow, classes have officially started at the University of Idaho. You know, they were out on winter break. They officially started on Wednesday. Students just seem relieved. There were more students walking around. People felt safer, they told us, but there is still this deep sense of sadness, as you can imagine, because so many people on the campus knew one of the victims, and it's obviously going to take a very, very long time for people to heal. So we'll obviously have the latest from here. We'll be at the hearing, we'll be inside, and we'll let you know what happened.
Tragic. It absolutely, absolutely rips your heart out. So let me get the next spectacle. No, I had exhibit. That was the word I was looking for the whole time the last time, you guys. The exhibit. Okay, exhibit B. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's take a look at the next video. This is going to actually be the status hearing from today. So yeah, he's saying maybe, you know, possibly even some more evidence might come out. I don't know. This thing is seeming pretty like closed-lipped. So where's the one I'm looking for? Hold on. It's not that one. It's this one. Okay, watch live. Boom. Okay. So this is the hearing from today. Let's just go.
I'll tell you what, Bobby, I'll hold off on that question. Really wanted to get it to you. We'll hold off on this question. This is the status hearing that we were talking about. Let's dip in and watch. Okay. Okay, so we were waiting for Mr. Kohberger to enter the room for this status hearing. Bobby, now I can ask you my question that I was going to ask you. I might have to cut you off if we hear this. This is from Postcards from Protest on YouTube. Killing someone with a knife is a very messy way of killing, and this killer killed 4 people that way. There's no way there's no forensic cross-contamination. There's got to be more, right? There's got to be more.
See, like, what's the look every time he's walking in? Like, it's like, I'm telling you, it looks like suppressing a smile. Like, I mean, that's just my own personal analysis. If I were to be someone watching him, in the FBI or something? You can't hear me? Can y'all hear me right now? Or you guys can't hear the video? I pressed pause. Are you hearing it?
Well, yeah, that's two different questions, really. Cross-contamination is a term we use to say that, you know,
Oh, okay.
DNA from one person, the forensic material from one.
All right, so there's his defense attorney, Ann Taylor. There you have the prosecution. Hold on. All right, here's the prosecution. He's like this very nice looking man, but he seems like he really cares about upholding justice. And I don't think anyone's playing around in this case. So nobody's playing around. No one's playing with Bryan Kohberger. I don't know why it always looks like he's trying to suppress a smile. What do you got to smile about? Do you feel happy? Are you getting your moment in the spotlight that your kind so graciously loves? The video's a tad quiet. Okay, well, it's just a quick thing. They're kind of just showing him coming in. They're just showing him coming in, showing the prosecution over here. Bill Thompson is actually the prosecuting attorney, and then his defense attorney, Ann Taylor. The judge is Megan, and I forgot her last name. Darn it. But, oh, where's the sound?
Right, good morning. We are on the record. 29222805. This is State of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. Mr. Kohberger is in custody. He is appearing here in court with his attorneys, Ms. Taylor, Mr. Logsdon, Mr. Thompson, Ms. Jennings appearing on behalf of the state. This is the time set in the matter for the preliminary hearing status conference. So I am going to inquire.
All right. Now, another thing that people have been talking about all day today is the fact that his face is all cut up. Well, I don't know if any of y'all have been to jail, but if you have, or if you have not, the razors are super dull in jail. And he probably did cut his face shaving, it looks like. Obviously, he's all shaved. Those razors suck in there. And he probably totally did cut his face. But people were saying, did he get beat up in there? They probably, I don't know if they just have him in like the general population. He would be like probably in like some maximum security, I would imagine, situation, which probably is like maximum security. They get like, they don't really have as much, and some don't have any social time. So it could just be like solitary confinement, isolation. Just you and your thoughts. Scheming, planning. Seems like he likes doing that. But it just, when I saw this video earlier, it got me thinking, look at that stare. Like the whole time, imagine being the judge, right? And you're just, his face is just, they say the sociopath stare is when somebody can look you dead in your eyes and just like not blink for 10 seconds. And it could be to romanticize you, or it could be to whatever, but they are able to like hypnotize by looking into your eyes for prolonged periods of time. And then, I don't know, it's just, there's something chilling in all of their eyes, and we're going to look at it. But he always looks the same. He always has like no expression. And it's weird, or he has like very twisted and weird looking expressions that you're like taking joy in all of this. So yeah, anyway, let's continue.
Fire of counsel, Ms. Taylor, what's the status at this time?
Thank you, Your Honor. We are going to ask the court to set preliminary hearing out into June. We would request the 3rd or 4th week of June, and probably 4 or 5 days for preliminary hearing. Mr. Kohberger understands his right to a timely preliminary hearing, and he's willing to waive the timeliness to allow us time to obtain discovery in this case and be prepared.
And Mr. Thompson, are you in agreement with that?
The state has no objection to that, Your Honor. And Ms. Taylor reached out to us by email yesterday with her proposal. On reflection, the The state's calendar would be better in the month of July, but we will make the end of June work if that's the court's preference. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Ms. Taylor about that. I'm sorry, I know that's last minute.
That's okay. The court's calendar is going to be better towards the end of June, early July. So would that work, Ms. Taylor, for your scheduling on your other matters?
Just staring. Hasn't even, hasn't made a move the whole time. It's not normal.
Your Honor, yes, if we take that 4th week in June, that's actually best.
Okay. So, Mr. Kohberger, I need to speak to you for a moment then.
Oh, see? I like to watch a lot of I watch interrogation videos on this channel, and like, oh my god, you guys, it's like the ultimate true crime channel, but like cringe factor and like trigger warning, but it's called Explore With Us. And like, I have watched some of the gnarliest interrogations like possible of just the craziest things. Something that happened in my area, which I'm not going to disclose at this moment in time what it is. That'll be for another time. But yeah, I like to analyze people's body language at this point, and there's always been something just chilling about looking into this one's eyes. And so I just really did want to share this with you guys. Like, even in court today, this very brief hearing, you know, I'm kind of just analyzing what I can here. And what they're saying is, you know, yeah, they set the next phase, the next hearing is going to be June 26th at 9 a.m. So I'll be covering that for sure. But that's going to be the last. This is the last one, the last little hoorah until then. And from this point forward, the defense is going to be collecting and creating their case. They're going to be creating their defense. So from this time until June 26th or early July, depending. So look at that. Look at his face all cut up. Oh no, like he's looking kind of skinny too, y'all, on that vegan diet. I'm telling you. Like, being on a vegan diet in jail, I'm like, what are you eating? Like steamed vegetables? I mean, gross. But I would say never eat certain things in jail either. So you might be better off being vegetarian. Actually, the best way to go in there is kosher. I'm not gonna lie. All right, continue.
And, sir, you do understand, and Ms. Taylor has represented here, that she's advised you of your right to have, or fully discussed with you the right that you have, which is to have your preliminary hearing within 14 days of the date that you initially appeared before this court. As you recall, when I advised you of your rights, that hearing is a probable cause hearing where the state has to establish that more likely than not, these felony offenses were committed and you were the one that committed the felony offenses. If you waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing, it does not mean that you're giving up your right to have a preliminary hearing. It simply means that you would not be able to come back and challenge that the state did not present probable cause within 14 days. Do you understand?
Yes.
Have you had enough?
So confident. Yes. And like, notice how he's like moving back and forth in his chair at one point. You'll be nervous as fuck, obviously, but he knows that everyone's watching and scrutinizing his every little move, you know? So the rocking back and forth in your chair though, for sure is, I don't know if his hands are clasped, but if your hands are clasped, that's definitely a sign of nervousness. It's a sign of self-soothing. You could be trying to calm yourself when you keep your hands close into your body or when you interlace them together. If his feet are also interlaced or interlocked together like this, that could be showing that you're also trying to keeping things close to yourself, keeping also yourself comfortable. It's when you're tensed up, you'll be holding and sitting in little positions like that. So I did kind of notice that little rocking back and forth and certain things.
Time to speak with Ms. Taylor about your decision to waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing.
Yes.
Do you need any additional time to do so?
No.
Then I will ask at this time as to.
He's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to outsmart you all. Yeah.
the 5 counts, felony counts that were charged in the criminal complaint that was filed on December 29th of 2022. Are you waiving your right to a speedy preliminary hearing and agreeing that that hearing can be held outside the 14-day period?
Yes.
And Ms. Taylor, do you concur with his waiver?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you.
I will find your waiver of speedy preliminary hearing is knowing, intelligently, voluntarily entered here in open court with the assistance of counsel. We will go ahead and set the matter for a preliminary hearing.
Also, a lot of jaw clenching I've been noticing.
Beginning Monday, June 26th at 9:00 a.m. And I will go ahead and reserve the week, so June 26th to June 30th, in the event that we need all 5 days for business.
Somebody's asking in the chat, Elber, if he's going to be in jail until the next hearing. Yes, the affidavit from the last hearing was, it needed to be strong enough, and I made 2 videos on that if you want to go back and watch those at any point. They're very explosive. Can I just play it? No, because this is about dialogue, and this is about analyzation, and this is about answering questions of people in my community, in my chat. And somebody wants to make sure and know that he's going to be in jail. Yes, the affidavit that was released was enough to keep him held without bond. Okay, so I did just want to let you guys know that, and I will let it play.
Presentation of evidence. And just so council knows, it will begin at 9 a.m. each of those days. Is there anything further to address at this time in the case, Mr. Thompson?
Not from the state's perspective, Your Honor, no.
All right. Or Ms. Taylor?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Kohberger, then you will be remanded into custody on your same no bail at this point in time, pending further proceedings. Again, we'll send notice out to council, and we will be in recess for this morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, so relatively short there, as we said. June 26th will be the preliminary hearing at 9 a.m. No bail, and he waived his right to a speedy preliminary hearing. I'll get some real-time perspective on this. So, Bobby, we had talked about this, but now you saw that it was defense counsel who said, how about June? They proposed June, but no objection from the prosecution. What'd you think?
Well, I think the thing that struck me most was the defense saying that they were going to need 4 or 5 days for this hearing, which is, to me, a long time for a probable cause hearing. It tells me that I think, and I probably will reverse my answer earlier, that you may see DM on the stand. It seems to me that defense intends to challenge and vigorously challenge some of the probable cause that was put into that affidavit. That's what it tells me. I think we will see more than just the one detective who swore to the warrant. I think you will see more witnesses. The defense kind of indicated to me that this is going to be a hard-fought preliminary hearing.
Yeah, we're getting more questions now on YouTube in reaction to this. Carrie G asks, is he imprisoned until June then? Well, he is going to remain at the Latah County Jail. No bail has been issued. And Jeanette, I go to you. Swagner91 says, wonder why he has cuts on his face. I didn't notice that. And Jeanette, did you notice anything out of his appearance? And also, I'll throw this out to you as well. When he was arrested, his booking photo, did you notice anything outward about his appearance? Anything that would, you know, be a bit strange considering what he is accused of doing?
I didn't, not from the booking photo. I mean, he looked a little more, you know, pensive in the one from Latah County than the one from Monroe County, Pennsylvania. But I did not notice these cuts, but I did receive a text while we were watching that from somebody saying, wow, it looks like he got into a fight. And I said, oh, really? I texted the person back. I didn't see that. So the person then responded, maybe it's just some, shaving injuries. It was our understanding that he was going to be kept away from other inmates in the jail. So I think we'll have to kind of rewind and look at that again.
Everything I said.
What we
All right.
There is a dog that clearly wants to have a say in this conversation, and I think that dog should be heard in this conversation. But hey, I don't make the rules, Bobby.
Okay, I'm gonna end that right there because I also think the dog needs to have a voice. Like, all right, let me exit out of that. Okay, so that portion's done. That was the hearing, and yeah, interesting to see him. He looks like he might be losing some weight in there from his vegan diet. Don't know. The next thing I do want to show you guys is going to be the leaked information. Let's see here. What's this one? And then we're going to start to do some like character cross-referencing, okay? Analyzation. Yeah, I told you it's Mercury retrograde. I'm going to do my best to get all the words out properly. But hey, don't be hypercritical. It's not so easy to just put yourself out here like this. Jeez. All right, so this is actually really freaking interesting. Hold on now. I got to reshare the screen. Share screen. Chrome tab. Here we go. All right, so what y'all's are seeing now is the Twitter page of Bryan ENTIN of News Nation. And he did some really short little interviews real quick with the public defender of Bryan Kohberger from Pennsylvania, who's been, he's actually been leaking and giving a good amount of information, including making us aware and making law enforcement, or not making law enforcement. He actually leaked to the media about the police body cam footage and the stops in Indiana. Apparently, the dad had very readily and easily brought that up to the public defender. So let's start this. All right, hold on. Where are we at? Part one. Okay. This one, I might honestly fast forward through it a little bit. We're not like trying to just sit here and watch like lengthy videos if we don't need to watch the whole thing, but let's.
Mr. Labar, when you first met Bryan Kohberger in Pennsylvania, what was your first impression?
When I met Bryan Friday night, the night he was arrested, Bryan was very cordial. He was calm. He was aware of what was going on. He was shocked by the arrest, but he certainly was easy to talk to, very intelligent, and I really had no issues talking to him.
Did you talk about the details of the case?
When I walked into the room and I shook Bryan's hand, before Bryan could even, I think, say hello, I basically cut him off and said, Bryan, I'm merely your attorney for your extradition. I don't want to know any of the details about the actual facts or circumstances of the case or the allegations against you. That's for your attorney once you get to Idaho to talk about. I'm simply here to talk about the extradition and the elements surrounding the extradition proceedings.
Did you get the sense, because he was getting his PhD in criminology and had his master's, that he had a good understanding of the process more so than like a regular client you may have?
Well, you have to understand the clients that I normally have don't even have a high school education, let alone a degree from a college. So it was much.
All right. So they are saying, he's saying he's smart. Like, he is smart. So either he's like he's mastermind and he wanted to get caught, or he's the dumbest criminal ever. And like, I think we're all baffled by that, to be honest. But he has a PhD, it's a good amount of school to do that. It's like a doctorate. Hey, so.
Easier to talk to him about how things would proceed and how the hearing would go than my usual clients being a public defender. But yeah, it was pretty easy to talk to him. He was aware. He did ask questions about how things would go. He wasn't fully aware of the legalese behind the hearing and what would be expected. But I certainly know after explaining to him, he understood.
Why did you decide to release the information about the Indiana police stops? Because I think we got it from you first that those stops had happened.
I think it is accurate. It came from me. It really just came in conversation with Bryan and his father. I was aware that I was trying to make sure that they knew the date that they came back from Pullman, just to make sure that it establishes that he would have been in and around the area at the time of the incident. Never contested. He had been in Washington State University up until mid-December. But when I talked to his father, he had talked about being stopped on the way home twice by Indiana State troopers, twice back to back. So it's something his father had told the FBI or Idaho State Police or Pennsylvania State Police, whoever interviewed Michael here in Pennsylvania. He had already told that to authorities, so I felt comfortable saying it as part of one of the interviews that I had done, that he had been stopped, because I felt a little suspicious about it, that he may have been followed from Washington State, although I think that has been debunked to some degree.
So when you were representing him...
Okay, so he just said to some degree he feels it's been debunked that they were being followed or tracked from Washington to Pennsylvania. I don't know if I agree with that. Tell me what y'all think in the chat. I don't think that they need to tell us anything, and that's obviously been the case all along. They're saying like, yeah, we can lie to you because this is an emmer. This is an emmer. I can't say the other word. I'm calling it emmer, an emmerer, instead of, you know what I mean? Red rum. Guess we could call it that. I don't want to call it that. My goodness. So anyway. Yeah, this guy was like basically spilling the beans. He has no qualms with just like, yeah, you know, I felt like might as well. So whatever. Thanks, dude.
In Pennsylvania, and I saw you in court. Obviously, you had limited information. Then when we got here to Idaho, the probable cause was released. What was your reaction?
Well, I just saw
18 pages.
And 13 in the chat.
What was your reaction to all of that evidence?
I immediately was given the affidavit of probable cause when it was released, if I recall correctly, by... I'll restate this then, Bryan, so it's clear. I'm just trying to remember who actually gave it to me the second it came out.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like right there he's like, maybe I shouldn't say this next part. It says, my full conversation with Bryan Kohberger's Pennsylvania public defender, Jason Labar. He says he thought the probable cause affidavit was a strong circumstantial case that had holes. Well, I mean, obviously it's not everything.
So I immediately read the affidavit of probable cause. I believe a news media outlet that I had been in touch with sent it to me the second it was released. I read over it 4 times, I think, until I soaked it all in. And obviously what I had read, I now had an understanding of the evidence against him, because I had been working in the blind the entire time, because I didn't have access to the affidavit of probable cause or know anything about the facts and evidence that they had against them to verify the arrest.
What was your reaction, though? Were you surprised by the amount of evidence? Did you think it was solid?
I stated a couple times to other individuals and other outlets that the way I would classify it, based upon my experience doing this for 17 years, read about 25 homicide affidavits of probable cause at least, and represented several homicides, capital homicides, through trial. I wasn't too surprised. I thought it was a strong circumstantial case that had holes and that could be exposed by a competent, good defense attorney like Attorney Taylor, I felt.
What would you say the biggest holes are?
I have been talking about like the biggest evidence and going step by step, because defense is going to attack each part of the evidence separately, really, because the Commonwealth's case is really based upon circumstantial evidence. There's no direct evidence against Bryan. So their case is in the whole, whereas defense will be attacking each piece of evidence individually, I believe. At least that would be my trial strategy. So if you talk about the sheath being found in the room, you have DNA recovered from the button of the closure of the sheath. What you can say about that is it's transferred DNA, it's touch DNA that DNA could be on there. Nobody knows how long, if undisturbed. Certainly, it could be a year, it could be longer. Experts going to testify that obviously it was placed on there because Bryan touched it, but they can't say when he touched it. Now, there could be additional evidence that comes out about that sheath.
When just the fact that the sheath is there in the first place and it matches potentially the weapon that was used during the crime is already like pretty explosive. That was like, I cried when I heard that. That was like, try and explain it away. It will be very difficult to explain that away. I don't care. Like that piece is a strong piece. I will say that they do say DNA can sometimes, that evidence can sometimes have holes in it, or it can be discounted and not even considered or used as evidence.
One being, it could be actual DNA on it. The state police executed a search warrant of Bryan's blood when they were here in Pennsylvania. And we don't know if that's additional evidence that may come out if there's unidentified blood on the sheath. In addition to the sheath, the knife itself, obviously not found, but we don't have the results of the autopsy, so we don't know if it's consistent with a straight edge weapon or not. Certainly that would change my feelings about the affidavit of probable cause too.
You know what? Okay, so that one's done, and there's a couple more parts. Let me know if you guys want to watch them. There's more, so I think we actually should. This guy's spilling a lot, and if you listen, there's a lot to be said, right? Like, there's a lot being said right here, and he should know he was actually working with Bryan Kohberger in Pennsylvania, all right? So very interesting. He was saying that if the wounds are not consistent in the autopsy reports, which were not in the affidavit, that was the part that was redacted. It was like probably a huge section that would have been redacted. And I think that was at least a good section of, maybe that was a part of the affidavit that we didn't get to see. Maybe that part got redacted for the public. So, okay, I'll show you guys more. And they're just saying if the wounds aren't consistent with the straight edge knife, which was the type of sheath that was found, right? That sheath would be consistent with a knife that does not have any serrated edge. So if it's a knife with serrated edges, that could mean that, you know, like when he was posting online talking about maybe the Red Rummer used multiple weapons. And it's like, this guy was, you know, he was in the chats and doing his thing. So we're going to look at that in a little bit. But, you know, maybe he did have two weapons. Maybe that's why he has that little grin on his face. You know, maybe he has some little secret tricks up his sleeve. He's a trickster. I believe that. So we will see. Here's part 2. Let's go.
Mention of a van's footprint in the affidavit of probable cause. They don't match that with Bryan. I would say that I reviewed I think it's at least one video of a previous encounter of the police at the home of the victims, where the individual who answers the door is actually in a pair of vans. I know I saw that and I pointed that out last time I saw it, because that's what was interesting about that to me in the affidavit of probable cause. Now, again, it could come back that Bryan has a pair of vans that could possibly match that.
Whoa, did he just say something? I don't know. He just said it probably could. Maybe he's just speculating. Maybe. Or maybe that was a leak. Was that like a massive leak, you guys? I don't know. We might have just witnessed a leak. I mean, shoot. He was saying someone answered the door and had vans on. Oh, what if he has vans? I mean, what if? But hey, that could be a leak.
Talk about the vehicle. The vehicle's interesting because, I mean, there is no direct evidence that it's Bryan's vehicle. They used the cell phone pings, tower pings, to link the vehicle to its whereabouts the night close to the home. They used that to track it, allegedly. But there's really no evidence that it's still Bryan's vehicle. You have the license plate on the back, not on the front. I understand that, but I'm sure it's still not the only white Hyundai Elantra 2011 to 2016 that would match that description in the area. And you have no one that places Bryan behind the wheel of the vehicle. So again, another hold in regards to that, because you can't verify that he's the one driving the vehicle.
But they don't.
No, you can't verify that he's driving the vehicle, but why was his cell phone also going on this journey? And why was it suddenly turned off between the hours of 3 and 5? which is what we learned in the affidavit. The FBI, ex-FBI agents are already saying that is very suspicious behavior. And so his phone and his car, true, I will say that definitely is a little hole. You can't prove that part, but like the phone and the car were traveling from his home essentially to the site of the Red Rums. And then the phone was off from 3 to 5, which was when, you know, in between then is when the Red Rums happened. So it's like what, someone stole your car and it had the knife and your phone in it, and they happened to just turn it off for 2 hours, and then they brought your car back while you were asleep. Yeah, okay.
Have to put all of that in the probable cause, though, right? I mean, could they know that and just?
No, absolutely not. This is just holes that I got from the affidavit of probable cause that the prosecution could clearly clear up, right? And really, you anticipate it as defense counsel that they're going to have additional evidence to clear this up. The one that's going to be difficult is the cell phone tower pings that I found to clear up, because Brian's phone was off from approximately, I think it's 2:30 to 4:30 or 4:45. I don't know the exact time.
3 to 5.
And cell phone tower.
Jeez, guy.
We like to call it.
Get the facts straight. We like facts over here.
Science. The cell phone tower ping is that when you send a signal out, it pings off of a tower. When it hits that tower, it creates a radius as to where you could be placed around that tower. Now, this was approximately, as the crow flies, 8 miles away, I believe. And cell phone tower ping information usually is a 20-mile radius. That's how the expert is going to testify. The only way to get around that is if there's GPS evidence. Now, so when he turned his phone on,
Just one last thing. Sorry, not sorry. This is my channel. This is what we're doing. We're analyzing and discussing. Thank you very much. And so, you know, his phone actually at one point was so close to their house that it connected with their Wi-Fi. I don't know exactly what that means. We don't know if it exactly connected. Like, was he somehow had the password, you know, and the phone like actually connected? We don't know that. But either that or it somehow connected to their house. So that was a thing that happened.
Before he
very
turned
close
it off,
proximity.
You're going to have GPS evidence up until the point likely of that in a cell phone dump, and then you're going to have GPS location the second it gets turned back on. That's not in the affidavit of probable cause. It's certainly through the 60,000 plus pages that'll be generated from a forensic review of his cell phone. So certainly it's more evidence that you're going to be looking at. Again, there's a lot of things. It's like I said, it's
60,000 pages.
That it's a strong circumstantial, but there's holes. I anticipate those holes to grow smaller when the prosecution puts their entire case on it and collects all their evidence. But maybe not. I don't know. But there are certainly holes in the case, and the affidavit of probable cause is just the start. We're in the infancy of the case, and I really do.
Oh shoot! Sorry, guys.
Pretty much bank on the Commonwealth. Well, I say Commonwealth because it's Pennsylvania, but the prosecution coming up with more evidence. Obviously,
the statement that you released,
Commonwealth,
from Kohberger, where he, you know, said that he was innocent. Essentially, did you write the statement with him? I don't know if you can share how that statement came about.
The statement came about Friday night when I talked to him. To understand, on Friday, from we were closed, we had a half day. So I knew I wanted to plan out sort of the attack of what I wanted to get done. You know, what I know I needed to have get done because of the media exposure I anticipated with the case. I didn't expect it to be like this. I didn't expect it to be more. I've been told by the AOPC, which is court administration, that really more calls than were on Cosby. They were calling about this. So I sort of got a heads up of what to expect. So I sat down in my office at 12 noon on Friday, and I wanted to plan this out as to what I wanted to get done. Two things that I felt most important is making contact with the Idaho Public Defense Commission. Obviously talking to Bryan as soon as possible, getting a statement out based upon my conversation with Bryan, obviously, talking to the family and getting potentially another statement out. And really from noon to approximately 4:30, I took time to search relevant law, Idaho law, in reference, like, what Bryan would expect upon extradition and returning back. So then I went out to the jail at 5 o'clock. I know there was a lot of people, a lot of news media outlet at the jail at that time. But I knew it was dark out, so I could essentially sneak in under the cover of dark and be able to talk to him without anyone knowing that I was actually there. And I spoke to him for about an hour. I let him know about the statement, that I wanted to get a statement out there because with all of the news media, I knew there was going to obviously be issues as far as him receiving potentially a fair trial, people jumping to conclusions. Automatically you worry about the presumption of innocence and the integrity of the criminal justice system. So I said, Bryan, is it okay if we get a statement out? And that's when he brought up the eager to be exonerated language. And obviously that was included in the statement.
So that was him. That was him who wanted to put that in.
The eager to be exonerated was the language he used. We put it in the statement. But obviously when I talked to him about the eager to be exonerated, to me, when we talked about it, it was more or less he was asserting innocence, but that's the language he used.
So I wonder if what he was saying right there toward the end of that, it was kind of interesting language, I guess, to use right there. Could have said anything. I don't know. Let's see. No motive, no connection, no weapon, other than the fact that he was stalking them for 4 months straight. I just have to disagree. The prosecution has a very strong case here. There are a lot of things linking him. And the fact that he's tied to this vehicle that shows up at their house and potentially, no, at the exact times, it all actually does add up. And the timeline, okay. Well, agree to disagree. Agree to disagree. But hey, we're all entitled to our own opinions. I do just ask that y'all do keep it respectful in that chat, please. Don't make me have to block anyone in there for being rude, because people do. And let's see. Let's continue. Let's watch the last part of this. It's only 4 minutes, but now we're already this far in. So let's.
Do you think that Kohberger can get a fair trial here?
I don't know, William. Do you want Bryan
Idaho?
Kohberger to get away with it, or what?
There's no way he can get a fair trial in Moscow, Idaho. I don't know if he can get a fair trial in Idaho.
Just because of the attention, you think, or?
Yeah, obviously due to all the media news outlets, the attention it has gotten. You're talking about an international case now, and really a social media is also an issue here. This is really one of the first cases. You had the Patino, I think Patino is correct.
Petito, yeah, Gabby Petito, yeah.
The Gabby Patino case, that had something like this, but my understanding about this case specific, this has blown up on social media to a point where most people ages of 18 to 25 have actually posted comments on it. So I'm not on social media. I don't believe in social media. People are too free to express their
don't believe in it, huh?
Really, that's
an interesting thing to say.
Repercussions to say.
Well, like a billion other people.
In this case, a lot of people have already expressed either guilt or innocence, and really neither helps either the prosecution or defense. Because listen, at the end of things here, and I want to make this very clear and important, and the family would really make this clear and important. Listen, there's 4 families suffering from loss, right? They will never get their loved ones back, and they want justice, okay? But we want to make sure, everyone wants to make sure that the right guy is the one that they have at trial and the one who ultimately is convicted. Whether that ends up being Bryan or not, I can't say. The evidence will ultimately come out at trial. But the important thing is that he's presumed innocent until proven otherwise.
And just my last question, there's the hearing tomorrow morning, the status hearing, where they'll talk about the possibility of a preliminary hearing. It's my understanding the defense can waive that. Do you think there should be a preliminary hearing? If this was your case now, is that in his best interest?
Well, I mean, my understanding is it is going to be a status hearing. I had watched the initial arraignment, and I know that his attorney Taylor had requested for a status hearing, but I believe the judge listed it for a preliminary hearing. So I was a little bit confused also, but I think it's been verified that it is just a status hearing tomorrow. And I absolutely anticipate there to be a very long preliminary hearing at some point, whether that happens tomorrow or in the future. I would anticipate a preliminary hearing based upon the affidavit of probable cause.
Okay.
And if I circle back just a little bit, the one thing that I didn't address was the shaky ID by DM in the affidavit of probable cause. I would, without doubt, say that is at best a shaky ID that any defense counsel is going to have a field day with on cross-examination.
What do you mean by shaky ID?
Well, first of all, it's not an ID of Bryan Kohberger. It's an ID of a person who has an athletic, non-muscular build, approximately 5'10", with bushy eyebrows,
right,
wearing a mask. It's dark, obviously, likely. I'm assuming it's dark. We won't know until DM actually testifies. But really, when you think about it, that's the only direct evidence allegedly putting Bryan at the scene, if it's Bryan who's ID'd. So certainly, I can't say that it's a direct evidentiary link to Bryan. And I certainly think once examination occurs of DM, there's going to be real issues with even using her testimony.
Interesting. Well, thank you. That was really helpful. Do you think that
Okay, so very interesting. All very interesting. I'm seeing all your comments. Let's go ahead and get some of your comments up. I'm not sure I understand what this means. Since he missions their families, how are they feeling with all of this? Well, the families decided to watch today's hearing from a Zoom situation because it is very emotional. It is actually very emotional being there, even though they did say, you know, they wanted to be there for every single hearing. It's a lot. They actually have to sit right by him, so it's hard for them, you know. Imagine just, you know, exactly holes you can drive a Mack truck through. But William, that's assuming that you know everything that they have. You don't. They have so much, and what was revealed in that affidavit was so much more than we even thought it was going to be. So there's so much that we don't know. They're holding this one very close to the chest, as they have been all along, which is strategic, and it's smart. It's smart to do that in this case. And I do believe there's a lot more that's going to come to surface. And that's even what his defense attorney from Pennsylvania was saying. Of course, it can all be argued, but in the end of the day, look, in the public court of opinion, the dude's practically already guilty. Looks guilty as F, in my opinion, right? But I will say, you know, the defense is definitely going to, they're gonna hit every weak point that exists in this case. You got to remember though that there was 144 FBI agents on this case, you know, Moscow police and Idaho State Police. So have some respect for law enforcement. I think they have more tricks up their sleeve than you think they do. Okay. Let's show this one. I'm so curious to know more about Bryan's sisters and his whole family dynamics. Well, his sister actually starred in a very, 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 very low budget, 5 cents to make slasher film. Can you believe that? Kind of weird, kind of odd. His sister actually did star in this, just I don't know if they made it, you know, in college or when they were young or in high school or something like that, but something like that. Anyway, little tiny interesting tidbit. But the dynamics in the family, I've actually heard from some sleuths that I follow on the YouTube, that you know, the family dynamic is potentially also on some news channels. You know, they've talked about it. Maybe the family dynamic is kind of shaky. It's they definitely have had a lot of money problems throughout their lives. The family has gone bankrupt. They barely just got that Pennsylvania house, and then bang, 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 the FBI bust down the door, bust out all the windows. You know, they already don't really have a lot of money. So I imagine that created a level of stress in the family for sure. I would imagine that is definitely true. Which way am I trying to go here? This way a little bit. Okay, there we go. And yeah, I don't know about that, actually. I thought if he only had one sister, but does he have another sister? I don't know. Maybe we can look that up. But we're going to move on now from this portion of the discussion, okay? And now we're going to get into some different things here. We're going to actually watch some videos where we analyze. Hold on. I got to reshare screen again. Let me do this. We're going to listen to what some people that knew Bryan had to say about him. There's definitely some mixed reviews for sure. And yes. Here we go. All right. So let's see. This says Bryan Kohberger's neighbor speaks out. All right. Now we're just going to kind of start to do a little bit of deep diving. We're going to do a little bit of character analysis. We're just going to kind of see what people have to say about Bryan. And then we're going to do some comparison. You know, does his behavior match what we think potential sociopathic or maybe even psychopathic behavior can look like? We're going to take a look at BTK. We're going to take a look at, we're going to take a look at Ted Bundy for a second. We're going to take a look at some of the stone cold KILLers out there. And we're going to look into their eyes and we're going to kind of compare and see if we see what we see in their eyes, in the eyes of Bryan Kohberger. Because I mean, personally, I think those eyes look chilling. And like they were saying in the video just that we were just watching, it's going to be hard for him to get a fair trial in Idaho because people are effing pissed about this, right? Obviously, like we're all heartbroken. You've traumatized the nation if he's guilty, if he is the one that's done this. So people are definitely going to want to seek justice in this situation. We already know the families really want to seek justice. We don't know really what the other families think about it as far as, what they want to have happen here to him if is said guilty. We don't know yet. So it's all just speculation from here on out. So we will find out more in June, you guys, June 26th. That's when the next, hold on. Sorry. I need to take that down. Okay. That's where we're going to find out more. All right. That'll be the next hearing. So we will cover that. But for now, let's watch this video.
Kohberger is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. He is due in court today, but is not expected to enter a plea. Kohberger is a graduate student at nearby Washington State University. Lilia Luciano spoke to 2 of his neighbors.
I try to remember everything that I can, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
In an exclusive interview, one of Bryan Kohberger's neighbors in Pullman, Washington, told us the suspected killer spoke to him about the murders. The neighbor asked not to be identified.
He brought it up in conversation, asked if I had heard about the murders, and which I did. And then he said, yeah, it seems like they have no leads. It seems like it was a crime of passion.
In one previous conversation, he said Kohberger asked him if he'd be able to kill someone as a member of the military. Another time,
Weird. The guy has a preoccupation with things like that. I'm telling you, even during the traffic stop, which we could look at, if you guys want, we can look at this. During this traffic stop, him and his dad bring up that mass shooting that happened at his college. So that's so freaking bizarre. Like, it's bizarre to bring those things up in those moments. It's almost like you're taunting,
Neighbor told us he'd mentioned watching Netflix's drama series about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh my God.
Prompting Kohberger to share.
Oh my God, you guys, I'm sorry. I literally have to pause that for a second because I'm telling you right now that I actually mentioned that in one of my readings. I'm telling you, I was like, yo, the dude probably has watched the Ted Bundy or the Dahmer series on Netflix. And I was thinking like, dude, these sickos get ideas. Like, and the guy studied serial killers. Come on. I mean, yeah, all of this is going to come together. He studied under Dr. Ramsland. Like, she probably observed some weird behavior. Let's keep watching. Oh my God, you guys. That's too much for me. I cannot right now.
How rare serial killers are.
He had a very kind and good side to him.
We also spoke to another neighbor of
Crazy.
Kohberger's who said they talked to each other about their grad school research. Kohberger was pursuing a PhD in criminology.
he mentioned he likes to study about the role of police, and I think, told me that he wants.
Yeah, millions of people have watched it, and people have a sick fascination. And there are a lot of people, there are millions of people that are actually sociopaths and psychopaths out there. Go look up some statistics if you think you're so funny. Don't be talking like no duh in my chat. Like, don't be rude in the chat. Put you in timeout. I don't want to hear rude stuff in here. I don't like that.
Wants to work with them.
Investigators have not yet released the motive for Kohberger or a connection to the victims. But as court proceedings get underway, one piece of evidence that may connect him to the crime is a knife sheath like this one found at the murder scene.
This is a strong case because of the knife sheath.
CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman says if that link is proved in court,
the knife sheath places him physically in the house at some point in time, but not necessarily on the night of the killings. That is going to be what the defense is going to try to show through cross-examination or their own experts. But that's a real stretch.
as has been the case with this case, there are more questions than answers. We learned also this week that a judge sealed the search warrant for Bryan Kohberger's apartment, citing public safety concerns and saying that the details could prematurely end the investigation. We, of course, asked Ricky Kleeman about this. She says without those details, we won't know why, but it could have been done to preserve evidence and protect witnesses. Gail.
Yeah, Lilia, the more you hear.
Okay, so dang, that was a lot, actually. Yeah, that's crazy. He asked him if you could kill in the military. Obviously, like, depending on what branch you're in, weirdo. He totally had, and that, well, okay, I won't say he had, but I'll say the knife sheath was, you know, it said U.S., U.S. United States Marine Corps on it. And yeah, so that knife sheath would place him at the scene of the crime. And with the DNA on it, I mean, I tell you what. Let's move on to our next exhibit. All right. Let's watch this one really quick. Let's watch the body cam footage, because I think it's interesting, and then we'll get going on. We're going to all the tabs I've got. My little presentation. I've just organized it and made it nice and concise. All right. Oops.
Hello. How you doing? How y'all doing today? Good, good. Take a look at your driver's license real quick if I could. See, he's right up on that van, man. He was right up on the back end of that van. Pulled you over for tailgating. Is this your car? Okay, cool. Where are you headed?
Well, we're coming from WSU, and we're standing early.
What's WSU?
University, basically. That is spots in the area.
So we're okay. I'm having a hard time hearing you because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University, and you're going where? Oh,
we're going to be going to Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're slightly punched because we're driving for hours.
Hours, days.
Been driving for hours and hours and days. Got white alarm truck.
Okay. And what did you say about some SWAT team thing?
Yeah, there was a mass shooting and everything.
Where?
He like perks up right there whenever he's talking about it. He's like, a mass shooting. He like literally like perks up. He gets all excited about it. It's like, oh my God. I love talking about red rum. I mean, geez, the guy just like, he absolutely is like enthralled with it. It's at any opportunity. Let me talk about it. I think that looks weird, personally.
Interesting.
Well, it's horrifying because he's told the universe, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So y'all work at the university there?
I actually do work there.
Oh.
PhD in criminal.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that incident. Just yesterday, or?
No, this happened about an hour and a half ago. We're still wrapping it up for investigating. I'm not sure there's two shootings because they did shoot somebody.
Let's see.
And then we don't know about that actually. They were there.
Shout out to Law and Crime for this video.
Wow. Okay. So do me a favor, don't follow too close, okay? All right. Thank you.
I just don't even want to hear him say appreciate you right there. Nice show, cop. Okay. That was so weird. Honestly, sus. Come on. Like, if we are analyzing behavior here, like, the cop was kind of like thinking, why are you bringing this up right now? And I agree. Like, equally, it was bizarre to bring that up. Got a little too excited about it too. It just gives BTK vibes. Like, it gives BTK vibes, taunting the police, and I don't even know. So, okay, we're done with that. Let me see what we want to look at next here. We are gonna, let's look at some more stuff that people that knew him said. I should probably, before I exit out, I'll stop doing this. That way, that's kind of not productive. Here we go. There we go. All right, so, whoa. This here says, and this all is just an ad. So it says here, Bryan Kohberger was mean, wanted to be seen as dominant, childhood friend. And then right here, hold on. This thing talks about the DSL, which is like the psychological, the way you diagnose psychopathy and like sociopathy or any type of mental illness would be done through the DSM. This says the DSM-5 states that the essential feature is their willingness to disregard or violate the right of others. And this article is from Psychology Today, How to Spot a Sociopath in 3 Steps. It says the driving force for sociopaths is to dominate others. They do this for the feeling of power and control. Hence, red rumming with a knife. Because sociopaths lack a conscience, they're willing to do anything to get what they want. To assess whether someone might be a sociopath, use the Webb method, which refers to their words, your emotions, and their behavior. And the essential feature is their willingness to disregard or violate the rights of others. From my experience in over 30 years dealing with legal cases, family conflicts, workplace disputes, and other institutions as a high conflict consultant, I would say that the driving force with sociopaths, and they have lots of energy, is to dominate others. This may or may not involve breaking the law. They want to dominate people in order to get things from them, such as their possessions, money, sex, business partners, homes, cars, investments, reputation, and so forth. But they also like dominating others just for the feeling of it. The feeling of power and control. Sociopaths lack a conscience, so they will do anything to get what they want. All right, their words. Well, we know he's smart, right? We know he's really wordy. We know he's verbose. He's intelligent. He likes to talk. People have always said that about him all along. Like, dude likes to talk. So where'd that article go? Here it is. Let's go. Bryan Kohberger was mean, wanted to be seen as dominant. So we know that is a common theme. So let's just see what this says. A childhood friend of Bryan Kohberger described the suspect in the University of Idaho killings as mean in high school. The friend, identified only as Thomas, told ABC News that the man accused of fatally stabbing 4 University of Idaho students was eager to be viewed as dominant. Hold on a sec. Oh, okay, we're good. Where am I at here? Kohberger, a 28-year-old criminology PhD student and Washington State University teaching assistant, was arrested this past Friday on a fugitive from justice warrant while visiting his parents in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. He is facing 4 counts of first-degree murder, and 1 account of felony burglary. He would grapple me and put me in headlocks and arm bars and stuff like that, Thomas said. So it sounds like he might be actually maybe a little bit skilled in fighting. I don't know. Maybe he's got some secret skills up his sleeve, but he just kind of looks. You know, I would say don't look at someone's physical and just assume that they couldn't be capable of something like this. You know, like just because someone's small or maybe a little on the thin side, you know, he's pretty tall. Like you could be pretty agile when you're thin, but you could be strong, you know, and still be on the lean side. It doesn't mean that you can't. So you shouldn't. One thing that we have learned, I think, from all the serial KILLers is that you can't tell just by looking at them that you can't tell just by looking at someone, but you kind of can. When you look into their eyes, you know, you might definitely feel something or feel something's missing. You might feel very unsettled. I was in a relationship with a narcissistic, in my opinion, sociopath for 6 years. I feel like I recognize it very well, and you cannot tell from the outside. I would get gaslit by people all the time, but it's because they're very charming. They're charming, and they just seem like, so like Dahmer seemed very like, he seemed kind of meek. He seemed kind of like, oh, I could never do that. Yeah, dude, you were actually, he was eating people. He was eating people. Like, come on, y'all. Don't take it for granted that this dude looks a little bit like innocent and skinny and a little gangly, because I think he has a dark side, and we're going to probe it. Others who knew or communicated with Kohberger during his graduate studies have come forward in the days following his arrest. ABC News reported that the police department in Moscow, Idaho, where the 4 students lived in an off-campus house, received over 400 additional tips once his name became public. Wow, that's a lot of tips. So apparently people had a lot to say about him whenever all these tips, these 400 tips came in. A lot to say. This is talking about, it says, see, very talkative and friendly person. Narong told Seattle TV station KCPQ that he was shocked when he heard the news, saying Kohberger was a very talkative and friendly person. He would talk about why people commit crime, what is the key reason behind crime, and how people think while committing them. Narang said, or Narang, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that. He wanted to study why people commit crime and what is the role of police as a guardian, or should it be an enforcer? He would talk about that. So I believe he applied to work in law enforcement at this point, and that's an interesting commonality between him and BTK. Let's not forget he studied BTK under Dr. Ramsland. I'm going to keep bringing that up because this guy really wanted to know how serial killers thought. He really wanted to know how people who committed crimes thought. He really wanted to know. He felt like them. I feel like he finally felt, maybe for once. This is all speculative, by the way, and for entertainment and educational purposes only. But in my personal opinion, I feel like he really wanted to understand them better because it helped him understand himself better. I think he saw a lot of himself in these characters, and he wanted to be powerful like they were. They asserted their power into society, and I feel like he was tired of being unrecognized, tired of being rejected, and so he wanted to get recognized. That's my personal opinion. I feel like the narcissist is strong in there, and it wants fame and it wants recognition, you know, and I personally have kind of sensed that all along. So that's just how I feel about that. His behaviors are strange, I will say, talking about mass red ROMs, talking about why people commit crimes, taking classes on serial killers. I mean, a lot of people study it. We're all fascinated by true crime, or you wouldn't be here right now. But we're not all also potentially being accused here. Well, not potentially, he is being accused. We're not being accused of first-degree red ROM, of 4 counts and felony burglary. Like this guy. I need more water. So, you know, planned a trip home for the holidays. He knew he drove a white Elantra, but never thought anything of it. This part really frustrated me. I thought, you knew, what the heck, in the town right next to you, you knew that they were looking for a white Elantra connected to a quadruple homicide, and you really didn't think to mention that your neighbor drove one. I mean, just to be safe. What the heck, dude? Like, sorry, but that was weak. I mean, police already knew about it anyway. We saw those pictures of that one Elantra posted in Eugene. Yeah, that one was obviously not connected. So, and this says Bryan Kohberger's teacher who taught him about serial killers, Dr. Ramsland, wrote the book on the BTK killer. She spoke out and said she wasn't going to say anything. So it's funny that it says she spoke out right there. It's bait, but it's more like she spoke out and said she has nothing to say about it at this time. She's probably not allowed to talk. She might be considered a character witness at some point. You know, they might call her to the stand during trial and have her testify potentially to his behaviors or how he acted or didn't act in class, or, you know, if she saw any signs of sociopathy or psychopathy, or potentially that he could have been the one connected to these crimes, you know. I think it's really quite possible that they're going to bring her on as a character witness. This says Bryan seemed like he was on the knife's edge between exhaustion and worn out, and at the time it was difficult, extremely difficult to tell which was which. I did notice he was showing up to class a little late sometimes. He always had a coffee in hand. He always seemed to be just perpetually exhausted, Roberts said. And for his personality demeanor, Roberts said, he had to make absolutely sure you knew he was smart. He had this intellectual capacity. So we just read that about people with sociopathy needing to establish dominance and needing to establish, you know, power and control. And sometimes that can be done by asserting, you know, your intelligence. You can say by establishing intelligence, hey, I'm someone that I can manipulate people because I'm smart and I want everyone to know it. I'm tired of being overlooked. I really feel that correlates. So he also was a little smug with that statement. I'm eager to be exonerated. Like, also, you think what? That law enforcement doesn't have enough on you? They didn't want to arrest somebody unless they had enough to convict. Now, let's just keep that in mind. Okay, so we're done on that one. Hold on a sec. Here we go. Actually, let's watch something else. Oh, Kitty causing chaos over here. I hope I can do this. I'm definitely gonna shout out right now. Okay. So this is a video on this channel, Dazed But Not Confused. Dazed But Not Confused. BTK Confession of a Serial Killer documentary. Actually, this is the documentary, but this is a key part I wanted you guys to see. In this part of the documentary, the BTK documentary, which we're gonna look at right now. Oh, I'm telling you, I don't know, Elber, but there's definitely, I have interesting theories about that on a spiritual level. But we're going to look right now at BTK. You're going to see how he is pleading guilty to brutal crimes. And he is just like talking as if he's at the grocery store or just another day. It's no big deal. Let's see.
This time, I'm going to ask, how do you plead to these 10 counts? Guilty. All right, are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Rader, I need to find out more information.
Well, I mean, I strangled Mrs. Otero.
He was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences. The death penalty for his cases was not on the books. And so we really never had a discussion about the death penalty being possible. He was fully aware that he was never.
Hold on, that's not even that was like, well, you know, I don't know if I can even show it because honestly, it's pretty graphic. The whole the confessions of BTK, super graphic, but the way he is retelling these stories is like, dude, it's just another day for him. No big deal. You saw how he was like, oh yeah, I strangled Mrs. Otero. Like, no remorse, no empathy. I mean, I don't see remorse or empathy on Bryan's face, and he doesn't even seem to look scared at all. Wouldn't you be scared if you were in that situation? Wouldn't you at least be nervous? He's not really, his behaviors are just not totally normal. I do want you guys to see this, like at least just a little
I need to find out more information.
part of it.
On that particular day, the 15th day of January, 1974, can you tell me where you went to kill Mr. Joseph Otero?
I think it's 1834. Edgemore.
All right. Can you tell me approximately what time of day you went?
Somewhere between 7 and 7:30.
This particular location, did you know these people?
No, that's no, that was part of my, I guess my what's called fantasy. These people were selected.
All right, so you.
Fantasy. So he talks about his fantasy world a lot, right? Like you kind of wonder what Bryan was doing when he was stalking the victims, you know, when he was stalking them so often for so long, what was going through his mind, you know? Was he like BTK in the way that he stalked his victims potentially? And, you know, he had lived this fantasy over and over and over again so many times that he had to make it a reality, possibly, maybe, right? So possibly, maybe.
Okay. You were engaged in some kind of fantasy during this period of time?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, when you use the term fantasy, is this something you were doing for your personal pleasure?
Sexual fantasy, sir.
I see. So you went to this residence, and what occurred there?
Well, I had did some thinking on what I was going to do to either Mrs. Otero or Josephine, and basically broke into the house. I didn't break into the house, but when they came out of the house, I came in and confronted the family, and we went from there.
And then we went from there. Just another day in the office went for a serial KILLER. Whoa. The way this guy, I mean, if y'all want to on your own time, watch this. If you're really that deep into true crime and you want to see some chilling stuff, watch the documentary on BTK. Watch the confessions. It's very interesting. He confesses to everything right here. He just does not even hold back. And like the way he tells it is just chilling. This guy was a church official. He worked for the church. He was a freaking Cub Scout leader. He was a Boy Scout leader. He worked for the church. I mean, the guy was like, he was kind of an upstanding citizen. But I would say that Dennis Rader, the BTK, he was somebody who was born like this. So they do say that, actually, let me plug my laptop in real quick. They do say that the psychopathic ones, well, they're born that way. Some are born this way, right? Psychopaths are born this way, but sociopaths are created, they believe, through trauma. So they believe sociopaths are actually created through trauma. It's not giving an excuse for it or anything like that. It's just that is potentially how it's created. Whereas, you know, psychopathy seems to be something that's a little bit more, I'm not going to call it genetic, but it could be like a malfunction in the brain. It could be something wrong with the brain. And that's what Dr. Ramsland kind of talks about. So maybe we'll stop right there because we don't want to get into like all the gory details. I just kind of wanted you guys to see like how these types are able to just carry themselves very normally, because people with psychopathy and sociopathy, they do not feel the same type of stress response as normal people. So they're not going to seem super stressed. And I would say, so far from witnessing Bryan, he doesn't look too stressed out. He doesn't. Personally, tell me what you guys think. I don't know, but let's go over here. All right, on to the next exhibit. Idaho Emers suspect Bryan Kohberger made creepy comments to staff and customers at brewery. This is kind of, once again, I guess, contributing to these thoughts I'm having about it. You know, like about his potential odd behaviors, fixations with certain things. You know, his blatant disrespect for women right here. a criminology PhD student, which, makes you wonder, is he an incel? His posts online, look at his posts online on Facebook in this Facebook group were, the handle was a guy named Papa Rogers, right? And the face for the picture was one of those AI generated situations, but it looked like an AI generated version of this guy's face. It was a side profile. And this article right here on TMZ is all about him interacting in these online chat groups and also on, 4chan and Reddit, right? The man charged with slaughtering 4 Idaho college students may have joined online chat groups to discuss some of the facts of the brutal slayings with internet sleuths. Bryan Kohberger might have been the person or persons making claims about the quadruple homicide case using the Facebook and Redditor handles Papa Roger and Inside Looking, respectively, according to former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindoffer. Coffindoffer, who was tracking both accounts, says many of the allegations made by the individuals turn out to be factually accurate, causing her to think it could have been Bryan. In 2 of the postings, the person or persons offered a correct timeline for the Emmers and mentioned the knife sheath left at the crime scene before police publicly released those details. Now, this is another important part of the case right here, you guys. We don't know what else they've recovered, so they've gone all through Bryan's apartment. They've gotten all of his stuff, right? They've definitely gotten his computer. We don't know what we're going to find. The FBI agents have said that thing is going to be a treasure trove of evidence. So there's going to be all of that. We might find that his computer is linked to these accounts. Indeed, who knows? But during the trial, that's all going to be being brought forward by the prosecution. That's what they're going to be working on. That's what they're working on right now. That's in the prosecution's case. So we might end up learning that. Look at this. Speculation. This is creepy. Inside Looking. This is maybe one of his accounts right here. Killer parked behind the house. Excuse me. Approached property through the tree line. Entered sliding door and left it open. Ooh, committed murder. Emmers, and exited sliding door. 1 knife, according to coroner's statement. Time of Emmers, approximately 3:20 a.m. to 3:40 a.m. According to car fleeing scene and on camera on Highway 8, approximately 3:45 a.m. Vehicle left skid marks upon exit. Please see photos below for more information. Dude is solving his own crime, psycho. So this is potentially Kohberger interacting from, the Reddit, the 4chan, the Facebook groups as Papa Rogers and Inside Looking. That's creepy. Inside Looking? It's a little creepy, that name. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, the timeline is off right here, though. But I do feel like he posted fake stuff out there. He was planting false truths out there, potentially. Whoever this is, if this is him, he was potentially planting false rumors out there and some false truths in order to maybe, I don't know, throw people off a little bit. Who knows? Because the timeline's a little off for that. We know that the crime was committed between it was like 4:05 to like 4:20. It was like such a short little window of time. About 15. No, dude, let's see. 4:05. I'm like, I can't do math anymore. It is 15. Yeah, in 15 minutes, committed a whole quadruple thing. It would have had to be planned out pretty well, I must say. There's also, if you watch a video from Crime Circus, super, super beautiful channel. Crime Circus, really amazing. Love his stuff. But, he made one saying that he felt the DoorDash order was called in potentially by whoever did this. Did he call that in as a, maybe to have people kind of look at the DoorDash deliverer, or maybe to just throw us off in that way, that maybe to get their attention, to get them to open the door so the perp could get into the slider. See, knew that the slider also was the point of entry. So that's giving BTK. BTK really had a fun time taunting police. He did. He sent letters into the newspaper. He did all kinds of things to communicate and taunt police. And he honestly thought it was a game. He thought it was fun. One of the last things he said to the cops was, Why'd you lie to me? They lied to him in order to trick him, and he actually trusted them, and that's how he got caught. Believe that. It's really weird. It kind of just goes to show like some of the delusional thinking, and their response was, we lied because we had to catch you, obviously. But it's like, it seems like this is the game, the taunting, the arrogance, the narcissism that makes one think that they're smarter than the police and those that actually have, field experience. Look at that look at the face. I don't know, just look at those eyes, repressing a smile. Totally. Okay, so let's see. I don't think we're going to look at that one. Oh yeah, all right, here we go. So here we go with some more weird behavior. Idaho murders suspect Bryan Kohberger made creepy comments to staff and customers at brewery. A criminology PhD student accused of, we know, has allegedly made creepy comments to staff at a brewery before his arrest. Washington State University grad student Bryan Christopher Kohberger, 28, was taken into custody in Pennsylvania early Friday in connection to the murders of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin following an investigation by the Moscow Police Department, the FBI, and Idaho State Police. See, I just said it because I'm reading. Sorry, YouTube, don't get me now. Mr. Kohberger resided near the Pullman campus, but had returned to Pennsylvania to spend the holiday with his family. Okay, we already know that. 34-year-old Jordan Cyrulnik, who owns Seven Sirens Brewing Company in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, told NBC News in a report published this weekend that Mr. Kohberger was known for making inappropriate comments to female customers and staff. The business has a system that allows staff to add notes to customers' profiles when their IDs are scanned. After he read what his employees had written about Mr. Kohberger, Mr. Cyrulnik decided to confront the now accused Emmerer, Red Rummer. Staff put in there, hey, this guy makes creepy comments. Keep an eye on him. He'll have 2 or 3 beers and then just get a little too comfortable, Mr. Cyrulnik told NBC. He added, I went up to him and said, hey, Bryan, welcome back. We appreciate you coming back. I just wanted to talk to you real quick and make sure that you're going to be respectful this time and we're not going to have any issues. And he was completely taken aback. He was shocked that I was saying that. And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. You totally have me confused. Like, no, dude, no one has you confused. You have a few beers and you start acting weird toward the ladies. Not cool. Like, enough so that the actual owner had to go up to him and say, like, hey, bro, I hope you don't do that again. Like, please have respect if you're going to be in here. If not, you're not going to be allowed to be in here. I see 13 right now, and that is the number of the night that the Emmers were committed. Said Mr. Cyrulnik went on to say that Mr. Kohberger would become upset if women at the business rejected his romantic advances. In one specific instance, he called a staff member a disparaging term when she didn't answer his questions. The B word. Those incidents happened months ago, and Mr. Kohberger did not return to the business after he was confronted. Ooh, your ego was hurt a little bit? Yeah, imagine that. Can't just get away with doing whatever you want. Mr. Cyrulnik told NBC, former friends of Mr. Kohberger have described him as academically gifted and at times socially awkward. They've also come forward with details about his personality and his troubled past, allegedly marked by heroin addiction and weight struggles. So we know he did have a heroin addiction in his past, and he also struggled with his weight, and he was potentially bullied. So could he have a vendetta against women here? It's looking like that could be. It's looking like, he could be just kind of gathering this continually gathering more and more fuel to feed the fire, I guess you could say. The more rejection he experiences, the more narcissistic wounds that get inflicted on him, because that's what happens to narcissists when you confront them. It actually inflicts a narcissistic wound. And a lot of times they will maybe retreat or it will cause them to lash out. But, he definitely said he would become upset when women would reject him. So incel much. Also the name Papa Rogers from the social media account that we were just discussing is a reference to potentially like the incel king, someone Rogers. I can't remember now, but anyway, it is linked to the incel revolution. I'm sure if this is our guy, the incels are loving him. Former friends of Mr. Co, and he might be indicating that he is a bit of an incel himself. Like he wants women, but they don't really want him. And we'll look at another thing here in a minute. Former friends of Mr. Kohberger have described him. Oh, we already saw that. It was bad. Mr. Kohberger's former high school classmate Sarah Healy told Fox News Digital on Friday, there was definitely something off about him. Like we couldn't tell exactly what it was. I remember one time when I was walking in the hallway, he stopped me and was like, do you want to hang out? She added, but Bryan was bullied a lot and I never got a chance to say something to defend him because he would always run away. Despite his struggles, Mr. Kohberger was very intelligent and always had good grades, Miss Healy said. She added that Mr. Kohberger was often rejected and bullied by females, leading her to believe that it was the internal frustration which ultimately led to his alleged involvement in the Moscow attack. I mean, it could make sense for somebody who felt so rejected by society that they wanted to commit such a brutal act against these beautiful kids that represented everything wholesome, you know? And wow, yeah, interesting. Unicorn. You've watched it before, but you've never watched it here. You haven't watched my presentation on the matter. So anyway, yeah, it's just, you know, I've done some mind hunting in my own way into this, and I really feel like it's the brutality shows hatred. I feel it's such a personal act to stab somebody. I have a client that I've mentioned before that's worked with FBI that he's told me he feels the most dangerous weapon and the scariest weapon is a knife. And these acts were done in such a horrific manner that it leads you to think like this person could have really been a wound collector. He could have been gathering all these wounds all along, and these types are wound collectors. And that's how BCK felt. He felt rejected. And he says eventually he decided to just really enact the anger and rage that he felt out into society. Ted Bundy felt the same way. He was actually, you know, he was a illegitimate kid. He didn't know who his father was, and his own dad might have been his grandpa. His mother pretended that he was her brother for a while until he had found out. So he had, you know, they all had maybe have this common thread of being like very rejected from society. And so what I feel like is like the way that he brutalized them, he ripped them apart because he wanted everyone to feel this pain and trauma that he felt. He wanted everyone to feel, he wanted to bring the whole world basically to his level. He kind of wanted us all to suffer with him, in my own opinion, if he's guilty, if he did this. Whoever did this, whoever did do this, wanted to punish everyone basically by hurting our hearts, by taking these beautiful children off this earth in such a brutal and gory and disgusting way. So that's how I feel. I feel he wanted, you know, misery loves company. And these kids represented everything that he wasn't. People say they're, you know, maybe who knows who he was stalking or whoever the person was stalking, but it's looking like, you know, there has been talk about maybe it's Kaylee, maybe it's Maddie and Xana. But either way, it's kind of all of them, in my opinion. I feel like they all just represented, you know, everything maybe that he's not. Let's see. Anything else in this article? Wow. Let's see really quick what Fry said. Mr. Kohberger is a PhD graduate student in the Criminal Justice and Criminology Department in Pullman, Washington, around 9 miles west of Moscow. 9 miles, very close. Where the students lived and were Emmered. Pullman is around 9 miles west of Moscow, Idaho, where the students lived. Moscow Police Chief Fry on Friday said he was prevented by state law from revealing what tipped police off to Kohberger's arrest until the suspect had been extradited to Idaho. We have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes, and I believe the community is safe, Mr. Fry said. Very confident right there. All right. I want y'all to note and just notice how confident Police Chief Fry has been that this is our guy. And I believe that. I believe that. They've taken a lot of slack in all of this. And They deserve a little bit of respect, you know. These guys know what they're doing. They've been doing this for years and years. They have a lot of smart and intelligent minds on this case. If y'all think Bryan Kohberger is going to outsmart all of these very experienced individuals and departments, no, I think not. So he's pretty confident right now that he, you know, we have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes. And I believe the community is safe. All right, so that's the end of that one. And here we have right here, this picture that I have up is woman shares creepy Tinder date experience with Idaho suspects. So it's like the list just goes on, and they said there were 400 tips. I mean, how much stuff has come out about this guy? Like, creepy Tinder date. Apparently he was being all touchy-feely, but then he likes to use the gaslighting technique and say, she said, you know, at one point, like, oh, you know, maybe I think she had mentioned he was touching her or something and she didn't feel comfortable with it. And he had replied by saying that he wasn't touching her. Like, hello, gaslighting much. She even says in a video where she talks about it that she really felt like it was gaslighting. Look at those eyes. That's a pretty cold stare, man. Pretty calm, pretty cold looking. That face too, just woohoo, creepy. He looks like a guy that's like, you know what? I don't know. I'm not going to say, that's too speculative, but but look at these eyes. Jeepers, creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers, creepers, where'd you get those eyes? Where'd you get those eyes? Eyes of ANSK. See how they all have a very intense stare? God, look at those ones. Oh my God. And this one, I recognize these. Oh, wait, no, he's not in this one. They don't have the confessions killer in this one. Those are Ted Bundy's eyes. Those are the eyes of Richard Ramirez. Oof. Cold. What do you guys think? Do you feel like he has those cold eyes in comparison? I think I should have actually isolated those eyes, and I should have like added them. I should have put 2 sets of his eyes in one of those images and added them in and see if they go in there, see if they match up. So I don't know. Very intense, very open, very. They say the eyes of SKs are very very predatory looking. This is an article by Empathic Warrior. Empathic Warrior. Very good article. I read it. Don't let their stare perturb you. I mean, you see apparently the similar look in the eyes of, you know, predator animals. The look of sheer irrational, intense eye contact is often not difficult to mistake. This is because the individual appears completely out of control and may even seem dangerous. This type of anger is frequently seen in people diagnosed with sociopathy mental disorders. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, ASPD is a mental disorder marked by a lack of empathy and remorse. People with ASPD are often destructive and unpredictable, making them difficult to live with. ASPD is thought to affect about 1% of the general population. ASPD is typically diagnosed after an individual has been convicted of a crime or has exhibited disruptive behavior for a prolonged period. We also don't know what they're analyzing him, obviously. We don't really know what type of conclusions anyone has come to. They're definitely not going to share that with us. That's medical information, which does not by law. It cannot be shared by law anyway. If that person wants that to stay private, that's going to stay private. We're not going to hear about his mental state until during the trial. I do believe the prosecution will probably have access to information like that. And this says, most people with ASPD have symptoms, antisocial traits that include being unwilling to conform to social norms, having little or no conscience or sense of guilt, being impulsive and aggressive, and having little regard for others. So I kind of wanted to like tie all that in. You know, we're tying it all in here together now. I do feel like, do you guys feel like Bryan Kohberger has displayed some of these tendencies? Because I really feel like he has. And all of these accounts that we've seen so far of what people have had to say, and apparently in the 400 tips that have come in about him since people have realized that he's the one being charged with this gruesome crime, you know, he's displayed a lot of those behaviors that we're reading about. So being disrespectful, being aggressive, you know. Let's not forget he was seen while he was being watched by FBI cleaning very fervently with surgical gloves on, wearing gloves everywhere he was going. You know, after the Emmers, they do pay attention to things like that. They don't always analyze body language, but when it's in a case like this, they do analyze the body language. There are body language analysts, FBI agents that do specialize in that. And so they've definitely been reading him. And I feel like if he feels he's prepared enough, are you prepared enough? You know, are you keeping your cool? Are you able to, you know, are you able to stifle every little potential movement or action that might indicate you're up to something no good here? Who knows? So people with ASPD are often difficult to treat because they do not respond well to traditional therapies such as medication or psychotherapy. However, ongoing treatment can help reduce the symptoms of ASPD, improve the quality of life for those affected. The sociopath stare. The sociopathic stare is a unique eye expression often seen in people with the characteristics of a sociopath. The prolonged eye contact is characterized by an intense lack of emotion and often appears vacant or lifeless. Vacant or lifeless. That's the only way that I can describe the eyes that I see right there. That's the, like, not only those eyes, but all these eyes. Watch. That's only been the word that I can use to describe it, is vacant and lifeless. Lifeless has been the word. Like, there's just like no, there's nothing there. Like, there's no love in there. It's just this blank, lifeless, cold stare. Oh, wait, no, that's not the one. Here we go. The sociopathic stare is a unique eye expression often seen in people with the characteristics of a sociopath. The prolonged eye contact, okay, we already saw that. Vacant or lifeless, yes, it is. It can be unsettling and difficult for others to interact with the person. The stare is thought to be associated with psychopathic traits, which are traits that include a lack of empathy and guilt. The predatory gaze is a type of facial expression that is characterized by a cold, calculating look that can be intimidating or unsettling. The so-called psychopathic stare is a facial expression often used by individuals identified as psychopaths. Psychopaths' flat eyes is characterized by a blank, emotionless facial expression and an intense staring ability. The stare is often used to intimidate or influence others. It has been compared to the predator's look in that it conveys the idea of being unaffected by the emotions of others and always analyzing, always gauging, always watching. That's how predators look, right? They just, my snake has strange eyes. When I look into the eyes of my snake, I'm always like, do you feel things? Like, you look interesting. I feel I do have a connection with her, like on a mental level, but I don't know about like being an emotional creature versus more instinctual. And then the instinctual creatures need to get their needs met. The stare has been studied extensively, but its origin remains unknown. Some believe it's a product of genetics or brain chemistry, while others believe it's a learned behavior. They truly have trouble understanding that strangers have their own lives to live by. Their own eyes give them away. Blank, cunning, or aggressive. It's been linked to narcissism and psychopathy. disorders characterized by a lack of empathy and morality. The stare can be intimidating and cause people to feel uncomfortable or threatened, which is why it's often used as a form of intimidation or reign. Imagine being in the presence of Jeffrey Dahmer, you know, and he's looking at you and you just know that you are about to be his dinner. Oh, God. The sociopathic stare is often used as a form of power. People diagnosed with sociopathy are very good at manipulating others, using their emotions and charming people to get what they want. So, you know, I feel like it's like the family seems like they're very wrapped around his finger. Like they were just like, we're standing with our son, like, you know, but everyone else seems to be like, yeah, we've definitely noticed some weird stuff. So they have had some difficult times in their family, apparently. And Bryan struggled with, you know, body image, and he's struggled with self-worth and bullying. And so is he an incel? Does he have a vendetta against society? Possibly. Very well could be. Does he have this sociopathic stare? He definitely has a fixation on serial killers. So yeah. All right. Let's watch this clip by Grunge. Actually, I wanted to show you guys this one, and I hope I don't get. This is Charisma on Command. Charisma on Command. If you want to watch the full video, I did want to share this with you guys because it's really interesting. 5 dark signs you're talking to a sociopath. Is this the one? Yeah, I think this is the one. Let's see.
Simply put, they do not relate to other people's pain or sadness.
Maybe if I don't blink, my eyes will tear up.
While it's often used for laughs on TV, you may not realize that this lack of empathy has a scary consequence. Sociopaths have a strong internal urge to manipulate you. To understand why, here's a thought exercise. Think about your own life and something you want. Maybe it's a promotion at work, or something someone else owns, or even wanting to have sex with someone. Now imagine what you would do to get that thing if your brain could not feel guilt, if you didn't care about hurting other people to get what you want. Listen to these 2 diagnosed sociopaths talk about that instinct to manipulate.
I am quite manipulative naturally. It's just really, really built in, and I have to have those instincts. Otherwise, I don't get the outcomes that I want.
Because if I encounter a certain kind of person, and if I'm talking to you and I sense a level of weakness, I get kind of the urge to prey upon that. If I have something that I want to get, then I'm gonna do my best to get it.
Not every sociopath is a bad person, but that instinct to manipulate is why it can be important to know if you're talking to a sociopath. Sociopaths today are even considered to be on the same spectrum as psychopaths, and it's not as uncommon as you may think. According to the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry.
So one thing I've realized is, okay, not all sociopaths, not all narcissists are sociopaths. All sociopaths are narcissists. Not all sociopaths are psychopaths, but all psychopaths are sociopaths.
1 in 30 people are said to have these antisocial personality disorders. So if your school or your place of work,
that's a lot of people, you guys. Listen to that stat.
You may be interacting with a sociopath or psychopath without even realizing it.
It's a lot of the population.
The sign that you've met a sociopath is a strange one, because meeting a sociopath doesn't come with some gut sense of dread. Often it's the opposite. Their first impressions can feel too good to be true. This is because they have no boundaries as to how much they will fake about themselves to win you over. Listen to this man describe how he would get close to people in order to use them.
I'll speak to someone. I won't really tell them much about me. They'll tell me about them. And then once they tell me about them, I'll kind of form a personality. I'll exaggerate certain features about my own personality to match what it is that they're looking to see.
Now, a lot of people do this to a smaller degree when meeting new people. They'll pretend to be more interested in the things they say or laugh at jokes that aren't particularly funny. But sociopaths and psychopaths take this to a level far beyond where most neurotypical people would be comfortable. Here's a more vile example from a serial pedophile with ASPD. He's talking about how he would earn people's trust so that he could take advantage of them.
So, like, look, you guys, I mean, you can't just tell what people are by looking at them. This guy that we're about to see is a serial pedophile. Like, he just looks like a normal person. And when he talks, you can't really tell anything different unless you look in his eyes. They do look creepy.
The best way to fool people is to help them, is to ask what they want, ask what they need. Do they need any help doing anything?
Beware the overly nice guy, overly
do
nice
they need any
person.
money, or do they need their car fixed? Do they need the grass cut? Do they need their children looked out for?
So if you walk away from a first encounter feeling completely enamored with a person, you may have just experienced the fake charm of a sociopath. Of course, not everyone you feel an immediate special connection with is a sociopath. Some people just have likable, charismatic habits and make good first impressions. So don't let that on its own be a red flag. If you have this feels too good to be true experience, and you aren't sure what it means, then keep an eye out for the next sociopath clue, the sociopath stare.
Here we go.
Since sociopaths feel shallow emotions at best, they don't get nervous around people. This means they don't feel compelled to break eye contact like most people do. Listen to Kanika explain it here.
I don't break eye contact very often. I had to physically teach myself to blink more often, which was really weird. Yeah, and to stop staring at people. It freaks them out.
Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes was infamous for going 10 seconds between blinks.
Every time you create something new, there should be questions. And to me, that's a sign that you've actually done something that
God, look at her
is
eyes.
transformative.
In general, strong eye contact is a sign of confidence. But
Those
if someone's
eyes were
engaging in
crazy.
10-second bouts of
What the-
unblinking eye contact with you, take note.
Oh my
It could be
God.
a red flag. Now, let's say this person isn't a stranger, but someone you already know well, a classmate, a work colleague, or even a friend. If you've managed to get into a relationship with a possible sociopath, you may want to ask yourself this question. Do I do more favors for them than I...
Okay, so that showed the sociopath stare. That one was pretty good. That was pretty good. See, also, I know because I've dealt with very intense like nonstop gaslighting and narcissistic abuse for over 6 years. I do feel that person is a sociopath. So I will say from firsthand experience, like they're very charming, and no one ever believed me because of how charming that he was. And I'm not even joking that the person kind of also gives Ted Bundy vibes. I mean, very charming, like a real lady killer, if you will. Sorry, I had to. I just been on here for a while now. Let's see. What other exhibits do we have here? Play that. I guess we could go look over here. So Ramsland, let's see. Dr. Kathleen Ramsland. This is the daughter of BTK, actually. This was a post that she had made on Twitter. Dr. Kathleen Ramsland was one of Bryan Kohberger's professors in criminology studies at DeSales University, where he earned a master's degree last spring. Ramsland has, or did have, a close academic relationship and friendship with my father, Dennis Rader, BTK. The world-renowned forensic psychology professor and, serial killer expert Dr. Kathleen Ramsland reportedly taught... Okay, wait, I just saw that. What's this? A video? I mean, like, obviously they didn't answer the door. Whoops, what happened? Oh. Huh. Weird. Oh, shoot. I wasn't sharing it with you guys. Hold on. I didn't realize it had opened another window. That was weird. Let me just show that really quick. There we go.
For the school says they are absolutely distraught by what is happening. Something really interesting. There is a world-renowned forensic psychology professor who works here who reportedly actually taught Kohberger.
Have I come face to face with psychopaths? Absolutely.
Dr. Catherine Ramsland has appeared in more than 200 crime documentaries and written almost 70 books, including The Psychology of Death Investigations, The Mind of a Murderer, and she even worked with the BTK serial killer, Dennis Rader, on his autobiography, according to the university website. Lehigh Valley News says Dr. Ramsland confirmed to them Kohberger was a student of hers. When I reached out to her, she told me, I cannot make media statements about him at this time. News Nation has obtained this photo of Kohberger taken during a group project at DeSales University in 2019. Students who studied with him tell News Nation they've been told to only talk to police because they could potentially be called as character witnesses in the case. They did say he was, quote, controlling during the group project. And Kohberger had no criminal history, and there are reports that the FBI was following him and keeping track of his every move for at least 4 days, and that ultimately it was DNA that connected him to the murders. Natasha?
All right, Bryan Entin live for us in Pennsylvania.
All right. So even they mentioned the cold stare in that video. Apparently other students that worked with him or that were, you know, took that class with him at DeSales under Dr. Ramsland had similar things to say. Everyone says he was controlling, the stare, the creepy Tinder date situation, the being verbally abusive to the bartenders at the, what was it called? Seven Sirens Brewing, and all kinds of things. The taunting of the public potentially with these online accounts, the Reddit posts, it just kind of is all adding up, you know? I think it does. I feel like there's probably going to be a lot on him that we don't know about yet. Look at those eyes. Jeepers, creepers. Where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers, creepers. Danger to the public after they searched his apartment. I don't know about that. I don't know what you mean exactly by danger to the public. They were saying that they needed to keep him without bond because if he is guilty, he would be a definite danger to the public to be out, right? Y'all wouldn't want, if this guy's guilty, we don't want him just out and about, freely walking, you know, maybe committing more crimes. No. So they're saying, I think it's important to keep everything super closed off because they don't want to compromise the case. That's really the only reason. So that's what I've gathered from that. Let me close this tab. What else do we have here? I don't know if this is different.
Most of us live our lives believing that the person sitting next to us couldn't possibly be a serial killer. That kind of stuff only happens in movies or to other people.
This is
we
from
think we
Grunge.
know if one of our loved ones was actually an undercover monster.
Ugh.
However, the terrifying truth is that serial killers are incredibly skilled at twisting perception and controlling those around them like marionettes. They prey on the insecurities of those closest to them and masterfully manipulate loved ones to never suspect them of any wrongdoing. That's why the families and friends of serial killers are always shocked to discover the person they thought they knew as evil incarnate.
Just can't be. I keep shaking my head saying, how can this be? Because he had lots of friends, very good student in school, a very normal, active boy.
According to Psychology Today, Jeffrey Dahmer's father simply accepted his son's lies at face value because it was easier for him to believe the lies than to admit to himself that his son was a monster. But even those of us who aren't already emotionally invested in a relationship with a dangerous person can be manipulated. Generally speaking, if someone appears to try and bribe you or distract you from flaws in a story using flattery, flowers, or gifts, you should definitely keep your guard up. Abuse during childhood is not a direct path to serial killerdom, but many serial killers were abused as children. A Radford University study looked at the childhood experiences of 50 serial killers and discovered that 68% of them had experienced some type of maltreatment, either physical, sexual, psychological, or neglect. An earlier study even reported that 100% of serial killers studied had suffered some kind of abuse in childhood. David Hosier of Childhood Trauma Recovery says psychological abuse in particular has a strong correlation with future behavior. Children who are shamed, humiliated, or punished disproportionately can develop a propensity for cruelty as a direct result of that abuse. Neglect is also a huge factor, as when children don't experience empathy from a parent or caregiver, they sometimes don't develop the ability to empathize with others. People who feel their own lives are out of control will sometimes look for smaller, more manageable situations to attain complete control over. If the person lacks empathy, that need for complete control may involve other human beings. Childhood abuse isn't the only factor in a person's past that can lead him to develop that oversized need for control. Kids who come from unstable homes, move frequently, or bounce around between foster homes may feel like they have no control over their lives, and therefore no time to develop real relationships with their peers. Not only do these children develop control issues, they also grow up with deficiencies in empathy. Combine this lack of empathy with a pathological need to control others, and you've got yourself a deadly combination. Serial killers almost always lack remorse. That's not really surprising, since the ability to repeat a brutal crime sort of depends on not feeling too bad about the first brutal crime you committed. However, a lack of remorse isn't necessarily specific.
God, he looks like my ex right there. I can't even.
People who have fairly
when they show Ted Bundy right there,
can also kill without remorse.
He looks like my ex-boyfriend, and I swear, like, dude, I swear, if Bryan Kohberger wasn't born like one day after my ex, dude, I'm. Manson was a Scorpio too. Ted was a Sagittarius, but also born in November. Brian born November 21st.
Compartmentalize and dehumanize the people they kill.
It rubs the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose again.
Oh no.
But most of the time, lack of remorse is directly related to a killer's lack of empathy. If you're unable to empathize with someone who is afraid or in pain, you probably aren't going to feel much remorse about ending a person's life. According to Psychology Today, the most common type of serial killer is the power control process-focused killer. John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, and the BTK killer Dennis Rader all fall into this category. Power killers can be said to have a sort of God complex. They kill slowly because the ability to decide how and when their victims will die makes them feel empowered. Most killers who sexually assault their victims aren't motivated by lust. They're motivated by the feeling of power they get from the act. One of the FBI's favorite techniques for interviewing serial killers is flattery. Psychopathic killers in particular tend to have a grandiose sense of their own self-worth.
You know, they say sex
so
is
investigators
violence.
can use praise to get them talking. According to behavioral analysts, psychopathic serial killers
just
don't
start
respond
praising
altruistic interview themes,
start
meaning
praising
that
a
trying to
psycho
make
and
them
they'll
experience guilt or
open
sympathy
right
for
up.
their victims is a waste
They'll
of
play
time.
like putty right
Instead,
into your
interviewers
hands.
might praise them for their intelligence or for their skill
Wow,
at
look at that
outwitting
crazy dude.
investigators. Forensic psychologist Stephen A. Diamond calls this quality psychopathic narcissism and likens it to an immature, selfish, self-centered, resentful, and raging child inside a powerful adult body.
That is how
Children
they all
are
come off.
inherently narcissistic and must be taught the rules of social behavior. But when children
They all kind of come off like it's like they're little kids who can't control their impulses, but that act these impulses out in like very dark, very adult ways with grown adult bodies that have power and strength, right? But that's kind of like what they all have in common. And I mean, let's also think about when Brian's aunt had come out and said that, you know, he made her throw out all of her pots and pans because he was a vegan and meat had been cooked in those pans. And so that kind of shows energy around being, you know, that's kind of spoiled, like kind of like I need everything to be my way, kind of maybe controlling there. Once again, we have lots of displays of controlling behavior, lots of displays of Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, if you guys ever want to email me stuff and you want me to like feature things or whatever, if it's pertinent. I don't know if you guys have seen the lives that are getting ready to go for tomorrow, not tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow and on Saturday I have another one. Okay, I do want to cover the Madalena Kojokari. I want to do I'm going to do some spiritual stuff around that and see if I can do some remote viewing. I've already been seeing things and I don't like what I'm seeing. It's freaky, but yeah, if you guys ever want to send me stuff or you guys want me to read certain things or you want me to cover certain stories, I could do that. I do have another true crime channel and it's actually called, hold on, it's called, and I really would like to start doing more true crime over there. I put it in the chat. It's called Trigger Warning. And then it has a little like warning sign, true crime. I can't change it now for a little while because I just changed it, but I do kind of want to maybe change it a little bit again. So, but it's Trigger Warning True Crime is my other channel. If you could please go over there and follow that channel. I'll be doing more stuff over there, but I have to make that channel grow a little bit first. So I don't know if it's weird to go from spiritual to like hardcore true crime. Like some of the stories I've found about, like, for example, this lady that fed people to her pigs. I can't, you guys. I can't. It's so much. I want to cover it, but like I just want to like tell the story, but it is like so intensely disturbing that I'm like, does that go well on my channel? I guess it could. Trigger warning, true crime. So go over there and follow that. If y'all haven't not hit the like button, please do so if you're still watching. Thank you all so much for whoever's made it this far with me. Hashtag justice for the Idaho 4 or whatever thoughts you guys might have in the comment sections. Show some love, like, share, subscribe if you love my vibe and want to become part of the tribe.
Grow up physically but remain in a state of immaturity, they can become extremely dangerous people. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more grunge videos about you.
Oops. Okay, I don't know that had music in it. I hope that's not going to get anything. And so there we have it. Very interesting stuff. You know, behavior analysis. We covered the status hearing. We got to look at, you know, looking at the psychology and the behavior patterns and things of SKs, and also at Bryan Kohberger, seeing if, you know, there's the comparison to be made here. Do we see it? Do we see it in his eyes? The trait, that cold, emotionless stare that these types seem to display. Very like intense looking, you know? And I've noticed like the eyes very wide open almost. And they say that they get this the blackness in the pupils. It's from the adrenaline rushing, I believe. But it's like their eyes will turn black sometimes. Do I think anyone else is involved? Whoops. Personally, I'm trusting law enforcement on this aspect, and I really actually feel like, you know, I feel like he's the only suspect right now for a reason. I don't think that there's evidence linking anyone else to this crime. That's why Police Chief Fry keeps saying, you know, this is our guy. This is the guy. So law enforcement is confident. That makes me feel confident. They say they feel like the community is safe right now. Oops, I actually just exited out of another tab I wanted to show. It was just going to be a little video about him wearing surgical gloves as he's cleaning everything, you know. Yes, I will definitely be doing tarot tomorrow night. We're gonna dive deep tomorrow night, you guys. So come around for that. We're gonna do spirit box tarot, but we're gonna look into the trial. So, you know, I think there's gonna be a trial. I'm pretty confident this guy's not gonna plead guilty. I really don't. I don't think he is. So I think there's going to be a trial. I'm going to cover the trial. So come hang out with me tomorrow night if you guys, want to come see me get spiritual. If you guys want to come get spiritual, we're going to look at the defense attorney. We're going to look at the prosecutor. We're going to look at the judge. We're going to look at Kohberger and how he's going to be during the trial. And we're going to see if we can see, any outcomes or things that we don't see coming, curveballs, and whatever good stuff. So please tune in tomorrow if you guys are interested in that. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. And this has been very interesting, educational, and I had fun. I hope you guys also had fun. And I think that's all I got. So Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those eyes? Theme song for this live stream, the Jeepers Creepers song. That's just what pops into my head when I look at these eyes. I love you guys so much. My tribe, my family, my vibe. Keep it real, y'all. Stay safe out there. Stay vigilant. Always be alert, be aware of your surroundings. Pay attention to red flags in people's behaviors. Don't overlook things that are giving you the heebie-jeebies, okay? If you get the heebie-jeebies by someone, or your red flag intuition is going off, your radar is going off, or you even just have that little weird gut feeling, or there's just something off in somebody's eyes and you just think no, or if you recognize any of these behaviors, hey, if you recognize any of these behaviors in anybody, run quick and get yourself out of there and keep your guys' self safe, okay? I love you guys so much. I like to usually end off at least just looking at the faces of these, at the victims, at these beautiful babies. Holy Spirit, please protect and keep everyone safe that's watching this live stream. Please protect and keep me safe. Please remove any negative energies that might be lingering in me, or in my space, or in the space or hearts of, or bodies, or energetic fields of anyone that might be viewing this video. Keep everyone safe. Holy Spirit, protect your chosen ones, and keep us all seeing with our third eyes and using our intuition to guide us. Okay. Holy Spirit. Amen. Hallelujah. I love you guys. Until next time, I'm the spiritual genie. I love you. I love you. I love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Like, share, subscribe. All right. Bye, y'all. Till next time. Go team. And